Hello internet, and today's video is going to be another book opinion. Those videos in which I tell you my opinion on a book, and today's book is going to be Golden Sun by Pierce Brown. This is the second in a trilogy slash saga slash I don't really know what's going on with this series, but it's the second one in that. And this is the follow-up from the first book, Red Rising. This does not start where the first book ended, but a couple years after. After Darrow finishes with the academy, or whatever was going on with the Primus thing and being separated into clans, he gets accepted into like a Starfleet academy school that's about like being a captain of a fleet of ships and just annihilating people around you. I'm not quite sure why they need these ships, because I'm not quite sure what kind of fights they're having outside of their own little civil wars, but it's a thing, and he gets into this school. That doesn't last too long before we get into the main plot of this book, which is more about the politics of revolution. So Darrow is now going deeper into his plan to try to overthrow the gold for the sake of the red and all the lessers. Now he's having a really hard time trying to do that in the outside world exposed to more people, because when he was in the academy in this enclosed space with just a bunch of gold and overcoming and becoming Primus, it was a lot easier. But now in the outside world, his title of Primus doesn't mean much of anything, and he actually made a couple enemies by proving that he was so strong. Also, by aligning himself with the guy who murdered his wife, who no one tends to like at all. Like, I guess his name's Augustus. The gold dude that he is under, that he gets adopted by. Yeah, nobody likes this dude. So he's super powerful, but he doesn't have a lot of friends. Now, throughout this book, we get to see a lot of political intricacies, mainly to do with the Augustus family and the Bologna family. The Bologna family, it was introduced in the first book. Darrow ended up killing one of the youngest Bologna's sons so that he could get into an academy as a test that they forced him to take. He became friends with one of the Bologna children, who's now his sworn enemy, and even before that, the Augustus and the Bolognas did not get along, so there's a civil war brewing there. Now, Darrow has some smart plans, like brewing a civil war. Those are smart plans, but he also has dumb plans like getting involved with the Jackal, who is Mustang's brother. And throughout this whole book, we get a lot more political intrigue than we did with the first book. A lot more of building this world outside of seeing how the golds work, how they function. Now, we still get some action, but this action is very calculated. Well, before in the first book, it seemed a bunch of random action that would happen because it was a lot of children at play trying to mimic war. This is a lot more calculated and precise when they have battles and when they don't, because now we're in the outside world seeing some A-grade people at war. Like, there are no games anymore. Like, real people are dying for real. A lot more casualties than a game that happened inside an academy. I mean, people died there, but it was like, well, whatever. Now it's like, oh my gosh, so much. What I loved most about this book was learning about the different categories of people, the different colors, what they represented, what they did, what were the kind of qualities and traits of each of these, and how they fit into the world. I also liked the added alien species that is used as a different sort of slave species by the gold and subsequently like all of the others. Like, this species is even lower than reds, so it's not the human species but like something similar, humanoid. And I like that additive because it really reminded you that we're in a larger world. Like, yes, this is dystopic, yes, it is sci-fi, but it really pulled in that sci-fi element other than the fact that it's like they have a bunch of hyper technology and stuff, because we get to see that the golds live in a space where it's filled with a lot of different creatures. Now, we don't get to see many of those outside of this one species they enslaved, but it does make sense for when we get glimpses at their past, of when they talk about being iron golds, of being like kings of the universe, and why they would still invest so much time in creating fleets even if they're not originally intending to start civil wars with each other. Like, it explains why the goals would be so, like, tough man, the strongest survive, the fittest survive sort of mentality if other entities outside of just the human race exist. Because it makes more sense for how their system works if that is a possible threat they have. So this book, again, I continually have a love-hate relationship with this series. I think it's a very good series. I definitely think it's a gritty series. Definitely for those who like 300s, like I keep saying. But in this one, I was equally frustrated and amazed by Darrow. And it calls back to what I didn't like in the first book about Darrow. And is that he's such a smart, intelligent person, but he makes obviously not good choices, and then those lead him down darker paths that make his life even harder for him, where I'm just like, just sit and think, or listen to the people around you, or trust somebody, and then this wouldn't happen to you. But he's very reluctant to trust, which is understandable, but he has hard ears, and he does not listen when people give him some solid advice, and it really hurts him. So, like, I want to root for Darrow, but he stands in his way as much as everybody else in the society does. And it frustrates me to no end. Like, sometimes he can be his worst enemy. And this book encapsulates that perfectly. Like, people try to give him advice. People that he trusts, that he cares about, tries to give him advice and be like, do not go down these paths. These could be dangerous. You could end up, like, in a situation you can't predict. You might be the Reaper. You might have graduated the Primus. But trust us, this isn't going to work the way you're thinking. Do this instead. And he's like, no, not thinking about it. And it's not in the essence of, oh, I'm secretly a red. It's just like, sometimes he doesn't listen to good tactics because these tactics would help him in his revolution, but he doesn't listen to them. And it's like, if you listened to them, your revolution would probably be on an even speedier path. But because you're not listening, you're getting in your own way, hence why everything's even worse than it was before. So I definitely think that he stands in his way just as much as everybody else, which kind of frustrates me and makes me want to slap him a lot, because I'm just like, you're a smart kid. Don't make obviously dumb decisions. But I did like this one more than the first because I really like seeing the political intrigue. I really like seeing the push and pull between characters. I really liked how Darrow here was slowly becoming more of a confident person. He still has a lot of self-confidence issues. He still is too much in his own head a lot of the times. But I definitely liked seeing him play with characters that weren't just amateurs. Like, he's no longer dealing with amateurs, and as such he must up his game. And I liked how he pulls everything together, how he tries to call back on old plans, rework them, old ideas, and how he constantly forces himself to think. And when he does, he makes some pretty smart choices. When he doesn't, he's really irritating, but I'm willing to let it go. Gold Sun, I'm not quite sure why it's called that. Like, I got Red Rising. I don't know why this book is called Golden Sun. Is it because he's becoming a true gold? Is it because there's more golds in here? Is it because the jackal is a sun and he kind of gets him? I don't know why this book title is the way it is. I'm really curious. Now I'm confused. Comment down below if you have an answer to why you think this particular book was called Golden Sun with an O. And if you like what you're seeing here and you want to continue to see more, click all those bunnies down below, and goodbye, Internet.